We've got an exciting and kind of peculiar and interesting weekend of Warriors basketball, and the greatness that is Kerith Burke is going to join me to break that down and so much more here on Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. And this episode is brought to you by TrueBill, which I would be reading if my computer did not freeze in a second here. Maybe we'll get back to that in a moment. Kerith, can you still see me? And if yes, how are you doing?
Yeah, I can see you just fine. I understand technical difficulties. I think it's awesome you're doing this podcast every day, Cyrus. Good for you.
Thank you so much. And I got my computer straight now. This episode is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is a new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Kerith, again, super stoked to have you on. Our paths have crossed a couple times at really random locations. I think the first time we met was in Denver, Colorado. I was teaching up in Wyoming, and I came down there. The great Raymond Ritter set me up for an interview with Steve Kerr, where we talked about surfing, and that's where we first met. And then you were a guest speaker for my sports journalism class at St. Mary's College, and the students loved you. So where are you today, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I remember coming to your classroom. I had such a great time, and I still talk to some of your students. So that was a wonderful experience. I'm happy that you're doing what you do. I'm still with NBC Sports Bay Area. Most people know me as the Courtside reporter. Courtside is a little different this season. NBC Sports Bay Area is putting the pause on that position right now. It is kind of a COVID thing. It's a budget thing. But you can still see me pregame, post-game. I write for the web. I interact on social. And I've even been doing a few more things in the studio this season. Feels good.
Good. I'm glad you addressed that right off the bat, because me personally, I have noticed an absence of a courtside reporter. And you succeeded someone who ended up to this day being a very big name. She's now doing courtside reporting for, I think, ESPN I think it's ESPN. Is that correct?
That's right. And it's Roz. We got to name her. She's fantastic.
And you're such a worthy successor. I always envision at some point sooner than later, I'm never going to hear from you again, because you're going to move on to bigger and much better things. So while we're still have you in the Bay Area, I love talking to you. Great to have you on. I guess let's first things first. Let's talk Warriors. They've had a nice 3-day respite, and they're now about to resume their road trip. They got the Celtics coming up tonight. We're recording this on December 17th. This is it's 12 o'clock right now, and then they're playing the Raptors the very next day. And then this morning, the news broke that the Poole party got an infection. Jordan Poole is in health and safety protocols. We don't know for sure if he has COVID, but something came up that put him in that position. Do you have more information for us? And I guess in a grander things, what do you see happening this weekend?
I just know that he's in the health and safety protocols as well. Typically, that indicates COVID. Let's just say there's a correlation there. I've been reading about COVID all morning and what's happening, not just in the NBA, but also in the NFL and in the NHL and just in America at large.
Yeah.
It feels like, man, Cyrus, we have been here before. As it pertains to Jordan Poole, it's kind of a bummer. He was one of this season's Iron Men, right? He's played in every single game this season, all 28. And on those nights when Steph Curry has a defense swarming him, when opponents are making it tough for Steph, Jordan Poole has been one of those fantastic supplemental scorers. So they're going to miss him tonight. And I really hope, a lot of teams have been impacted by the COVID bug, a lot of teams with guys in the health and safety protocols. I hope the Warriors don't feel that bite as strongly as other teams. It's something to keep an eye on for the future.
It was a few days ago, Stephen Curry broke the 3-point record. He's now the 3-point king. And I can't help thinking of how many people he was socializing with in the celebrations, how many hugs, how many handshakes. I know some Knicks have been diagnosed. So let's hope for the best. But, I guess speaking of Jordan Poole, the fan base loves him. And you mentioned his durability, which I always respect. I think that's such an underrated attribute and variable for a player. What are your thoughts on him? Like, do you see great things? Like what do you envision Jordan Poole, say 3, 4, 5 years from now? And just your thoughts on him in general.
You know what? Well, let's back up because we might need to have a moment of honesty. Not all fans were on the Jordan Poole train early. Okay. We have to
True.
consider that this is year 3 for Jordan. This is what his
True.
development has led to. And there were some fans who didn't have a lot of patience for that. Remember, Jordan Poole's rookie season was that terrible year for the Warriors where Steph Curry broke his hand. Was it also the COVID season that interrupted things? It was just the worst
Later
season.
on.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
of the worst seasons in Warriors history. You know, the 15 wins, just not
Oh,
not what we've seen from the Warriors typically. And I recall Steve Kerr saying, for all of the rookies on that team, Jordan Poole included, those guys never would have seen the playing time they did, never would have been in a starting role situation had it not been such a weird and awful year. So you're talking about a guy who left college early. You're talking about basically a teenager or 20 years old trying to be a pro. And that takes
yeah.
a lot. That's for everybody. I'm not saying Jordan was immature in any way. I'm just saying it's overwhelming, the entirety of being a professional in the NBA and then having every move scrutinized in an offense that wasn't functioning the way that we know it to function because they were missing pieces. So just very tough situation. So
Right.
all of that said, Cyrus, right? We are here in year 3 for Jordan Poole, and we can see what he can do now that he's been working on his shooting, now that he's in a healthier offense, the way that the ball is flowing. The Warriors are leading the NBA in assists. They have good passers on the team. They have fantastic defense to back up all this stuff. So just the situation is a lot better, and you can see the work that Jordan Poole did in the offseason
Mhm.
to make sure he can bloom himself and part of a much better situation for the Dubs.
Yeah, that's and look, you're the epitome, the definition of a Warriors insider.
Mhm.
Have you ever been because a lot of people attribute Jordan Poole's visit to Santa Cruz and playing for the G League team as a huge reason for his ascension and his growth. Have you ever been down there? I haven't really gone the Santa Cruz experience. Have you been down there actually to see them play or practice or anything?
No, I have not. I've only watched from afar. You know what's something
Same.
that struck me? I think you could see a huge difference in Jordan Poole when he came back from his G League stint last season. There is something interesting that Jordan always says. He will say he never lost confidence. He has come
Mm.
in since day one with a tremendous amount of confidence and a belief in himself. So that's kind of a sticky topic with him, confidence. He doesn't feel like he ever lost it.
Right.
But you can see a difference. And, you know, with other guys heading to the G League too, especially if Wiseman ends up doing a little stint down there, it is a place for confidence. You're
Yeah.
playing, it's high level basketball in a much more low stakes environment. So with that combination, I mean, you do see guys have great performances down there. It's a level that they can play at where they can remember, oh yeah, I'm good at this. And the love of the
Uh-huh.
game, you know, the love of the game shows up for them.
I just love the vibe of Santa Cruz in general. I'm a surfer. To
Yeah.
me, it's the best waves in the world. They're right there, just down the freeway, the Highway 1. And let's say Clay Thompson's been making some visits there. Jordan Poole went there, came back and succeeded. You talked about Wiseman. What are your thoughts on our two rookies, Kaminga and Moody? Speaking of that note, because they're making a lot of trips back and forth.
Yeah.
What are you seeing from them, and what's your optimism for them, if any?
Lots of optimism, actually. And
Okay.
I think it's so great that because the Warriors are deep this year, they have the luxury of making sure the rookies can get playing time elsewhere. You know, they can,
Mhm.
again, I feel like everything is linked, Cyrus. We were talking
Yeah.
about what development did, time to develop that is for Jordan Poole. Now you can let these rookies, these teenagers have their development time playing high
Mm,
level basketball in a low stakes environment.
correct.
You know, because I do think they could play in NBA games. They just don't have to right now. And so if they're sitting at the end of the bench, maybe you start to languish. That is, you know, how come I'm not getting any playing time? Does it feel like a punishment a
Right.
little bit? No, send them down to play. Let everybody know what the situation this year is. And it's putting these young players in the best situation so they can thrive when their number is called with the big club.
Absolutely. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the system they run in Santa Cruz in terms of coaching, offense, defense is nearly identical to what they run in San Francisco. And that's a
Yep.
huge factor for these players being able to adjust easily. And we'll talk about that and your background because I know a lot of people are very interested. You have an incredible fan base, and rightfully so. First, I got to mention one of the companies or organizations that pay our bills, and Kerith Locked On loves when guests jump in. If you want to, please do so. We only got one sponsor here for this break, and that is TrueBill. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill to take control of your subscriptions. Kerith, like, do you sometimes get surprised by what you're still subscribed to, for example? Because that's my issue. I see that and I'm like, oh man, I'm still paying $15 a month for Netflix when we're already using my wife's, subscription. And anyways, I have that issue. I know a lot of other people have that issue. And TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forget about. And on average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. And because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Again, that's truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now. Truebill.com/lockedonnba could save you thousands a year. Again, that's truebill.com/NBA.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. And again, this episode is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Kerith, I teach journalism and I teach sports journalism. And one thing I hear about a lot, and this is especially for my female students, is how much harder it is for a woman to break into sports. It's a very male dominated field. Back when I started over 20 years ago, I saw blatant misogyny right in front of me. Obviously progress is being made. I'm starting to see some fairness, but I don't think we're anywhere close to there yet. How did you get to this position? To tell the listeners, especially those who look up to you, how you got to this level of success you're at now? Because I know, again, my students have said this, and I've heard a lot of people say they respect you, they admire you, they look up to you. You are the face of Warriors basketball in a lot of regards, just because of how much camera time you get. So please tell your story. Like how did you get to where you are now, and maybe some lessons you can impart along the way.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there were so many things in that question. First of all,
sorry.
No, but thank you. I'm not sure how to react when people say they admire me or my path. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
Yeah,
I got to talk to students about that too. I've known since fourth grade I've wanted to be a reporter. I know that can be a little unusual. I got to college knowing that this was going to be my path. I did everything I could. I really wanted to make sure I said yes to everything. So even though television ended up being my path, I worked for the school newspaper. I did a lot of radio. I did a show, or I worked on shows at our network called Cable 8 at Washington State University. I mean, I did sketch comedy stuff. I did silly news things. I mean, anything that could get me in front of a camera so I would be a little bit more comfortable. And then I got my first job out of college, in a local sports newsroom. Climbed the ladder from there. So maybe you've heard the phrase one-man band. I was my own camera person. I had the camera on my shoulder and the microphone here, and I'm interviewing people. I would take that work back and I would edit the story, then I would present the story. So doing everything was such a nice experience to teach me how to tell a story from start to finish. Eventually, though, I wanted that camera off my shoulder. I'm a small person with neck problems now, so I needed to stop that. So as I went to 3 local newsrooms, then I worked for a network called SNY in New York City, best known as the Mets Network, but I covered everything. 9 pro teams, college. That's where I got my first job doing sideline for basketball specifically. I covered UConn women's basketball. And I happened to catch that team at a time when they won 4 consecutive national championships.
Oh.
And what an incredible experience. And then Gino Auriemma, the coach of that team, was the coach of Team USA women's basketball in 2016. My relationship with Gino and UConn players, there were 6 of them out of 12 on that roster, helped me cover the Olympics. The women won gold that year. And as NBC kind of had more attention on me, it helped me get this job here at NBC Sports Bay Area covering the Warriors. So my career has gone all across the country. Yeah. That's totally fine with me. I've been so happy to climb the ladder, as I say, and get experience everywhere. And I just feel happy to call this my job.
Oh,
I get to do
absolutely.
what I love, what I've loved for a long time, and get paid for it. It's amazing.
And one of many things I love about you is the fact that there's no arrogance or ego from you. It's just there's a
Huh.
lot of humility, and I respect that tremendously. And Cougar pride. Do you and Clay Thompson have that bond? Do you bring that up with him that you're both from Pullman, or that you went
Clay
to
does
school
not
there?
speak a lot of words to anyone, but the thing that he says most to me is "Go Cougs." Every time we pass each other in a hall, undoubtedly "Go Cougs."
Oh yeah, I love that. And we're joined by Kerith Burke here on Locked On Warriors. And again, the Warriors in general this year have been incredible. I mean, right now, I believe they have the best record, or they might be a half game behind the Suns. I haven't looked at the standings in the last day or so.
No, you're right.
But
Don't doubt yourself. They're 23-5, best record in the NBA.
yes, awesome. So, in your opinion, Kerith, I know this is very early. What is your long-term prediction, prognosis for this team? Are they winning the championship?
Ooh.
Do you think they're at that level? Like, what are your thoughts?
I hope if everyone stays healthy, because all of this is predicated on being healthy every season. I
True.
think they could be championship contenders. I don't want to anoint them just yet. There's still a lot of a season left to play. But I even think back to what was my preseason prediction. I felt pretty good about 50 games, definitely making it to the playoffs, see how far they can go, what kind of magic can the Warriors conjure.
Hmm.
But Cyrus, if they win 2 more games, if they finish this road trip with 2 wins, they're at 25 wins, which means they're already halfway to 50. I mean, I think the Warriors have definitely
Wow.
surpassed a lot of people's expectations. Klay Thompson will be healthy eventually. He's going to come back and join the mix. But even having a healthy Steph, a healthy Draymond, you've got like a healthy Kevon Looney. I'm so happy to see these
I
guys playing
know.
well. It all equals a well-oiled machine on offense and defense that really gives trouble to other teams. I think the Warriors can compete with the best of them, and they are arriving at the idea that they are the best of them this season.
Yeah. Is 28 games enough of a sample size for you to determine now that the Warriors should not pull a trade? Let's say like they go into a slide and lose 8 of 10.
Ooh.
Obviously there's going to be a lot of grumblings at that point, but do you think they've established themselves enough now where you feel like they should just keep it, or is it still an uncertainty for you?
I I don't see any trades coming down the pipeline because in order to make a trade, which is a huge splash, you have to have a glaring need. And I just don't see this on this team. And also, the Warriors still don't know the entirety of what they have on this roster because Clay's not back and because Wiseman isn't back.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of change or even upheaval coming. And I just don't think they make any kind of drastic moves right now until they have the whole sum of what this team is. If the Warriors are going to make any splashy moves, my gut is telling me that comes in the offseason after they know
Okay.
what they have now. I want to say the Warriors have 7 expiring contracts, which would kind of make the money side come into play. And maybe they would know with other teams in the offseason, who's even available. So I guess just based on the fact that there's no glaring need right now on a very
Right.
deep team that happens to be the #1 team in the league, I'm kind of thinking if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I love that adage, and I firmly subscribe to that as well. And that's some interesting information. I wasn't aware of that until just now. That half the roster is going to be available for free agency after this year. I'm guessing it's more of the minimum guys, like the Juan
Yeah,
Toscanos and the Gary Paytons. But
yeah.
that's interesting. Before I let you go, Kerith, again, you're part of the team covering tonight's Warriors Celtics game. How could people listen to you or follow you? Like obviously on Twitter, you could follow Kerith Burke at Kerith Burke. Do you have a podcast? Please promote away. Like, how can people follow you?
Yeah, please look for me on pregame and postgame, Warriors pregame live and postgame live. That's on NBC Sports Bay Area with a unique name. I hope if you type in Kerith on Twitter or on Instagram, you'll find me. Don't have a podcast yet, but there are some things that might be coming in the new year.
Oh,
So please just tune in to NBC Sports Bay Area. We've got you covered on all things Warriors.
I love it. And let me know. I'm always jumping on with you if you ever need a guest. I'm a fan. You're one of my favorites. And I really do hope that NBC Sports Bay Area does bring back that courtside reporter soon. We miss you on that court. I personally always learn something new. And for me, that's what a reporter is supposed to do, is inform while throwing that entertainment angle in there as well. And you seem to cover all those bases. Kerith, thank you so much. You rule. I'm really thankful
Ah,
that you came on, and thanks again. Yeah, I don't
you
know what
got
else
it,
to say.
Cyrus. Always a pleasure. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Garrett. Yeah, thank you. Take care. And that was the greatness that is Kerith Burke. And again, you can watch all of her action on NBC Sports Bay Area. Yeah, just basically covering our team. It's time to pay some bills again. So this time, I believe we are going to be talking about. Let me look at my schedule here. Built Bar. Oh, those tasty treats. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. So many flavors. You'll have a hard time choosing. Will you have raspberry or mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate? My personal favorite, cookies and cream, or maybe it's peanut butter brownie. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors when you're dealing with the Mad Max situation, shopping for those last minute gifts, or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines. Gobble down that Built Bar. Get yourself some healthy fuel. Because it's a season of peace and love, don't bring up your favorite Built Bar flavor at family parties, because people are so passionate about their favorite flavor. They'll fight for it and things can get out of hand. And if you're friends with Santa, well, Santa will tell you to throw a few Built Bars in those stockings. With so many flavors, they'd make anyone's Christmas morning a happy one. Or you could dip it, that delicious Built Bar, in my case, that would be cookies and cream, into a piping hot cup of cocoa. Let it melt a little. Give your beverage a bit of that Built Bar flavor, kind of like when you dip an Oreo in the milk. Plus, you'll have, except healthy in this case, plus you'll have a nice melty Built Bar to go with it. Make sure to have some napkins on hand. Could get messy. And on top of that, speaking of ridiculous suggestions, how about marshmallowy treats? Get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate. Tastes so good. You won't believe that they're filled with protein. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15. Again, that's built.com, promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Today's episode of Locked On Warriors is also brought to you by BetOnline. Still trying to recoup from my devastating loss last week against the Pacers. Got to get my BetOnline account going again with some more funds in there, and they have you covered all season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. As football season continues the march to the playoffs, BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile device, or mobile website, to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On. Again, that's Locked On to receive your 50% welcome bonus from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. As Kerith mentioned a moment ago, the Warriors play the Celtics tonight. They've had a nice 3-game respite, and they're set to resume things. Jordan Poole right now is not going to be available. So look for Andrew Wiggins to step it up a little bit. Look for Gary Payton the second to obviously get some more playing time in the process. I actually don't know what their starting lineup is going to look like now. I'm curious to see that. I haven't seen any announcements pertaining to that, but regardless, they play the Celtics tonight. And then the word was originally that a handful of the veterans were not going to play tomorrow against the Raptors for rest purposes, like Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, possibly Otto Porter Jr. They're all expected to rest tomorrow. But now with Jordan Poole out, I don't know what the plans are. So stay tuned for that. You can follow me on Twitter at DocSurfRoadshow. You can follow this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. I'm constantly posting updates on the Warriors and giving you information. That blank background behind me, that will be filled with content soon. I promise. I've gotten a lot of ridicule from my wife about that. I have some amazing art, so you will not look at a blank, boring canvas behind me for future shows. And yes, I know my hair is absolutely insane. I haven't cut it since August of last year, except for the back. I cut that every once in a while. So I do need to fix that up for sure and be more presentable. And I will be, I promise. So next week, Dieter and I will be doing a show together. And and we might be hosting shows together both Monday and Tuesday. We were originally hoping for Klay Thompson to be making his debut. That it was announced that his return will likely be pushed back at least a week to possibly the 27th or maybe 2022. We'll keep you posted on that and so much more. Again, if you follow this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs, our Twitter platform retweets pretty much everything myself and Dieter post pertaining to the Warriors. And again, if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's at DocServeRoadshow. Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. We'll see you next week, Dub Nation. Let's hope the Warriors pull off 2 more wins. Let's hope Jordan Poole is okay and we don't get any more players missing because of health and safety protocols. And again, follow us on social media. We'll update you through the weekend. Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday. Thanks and take care.